I welcome you once again to this Netherworld arcade. If you find the chill in the air somewhat disconcerting, you know that you've come to the right place. You see, the air is stirred from the phantoms and specters flitting about just overhead. But don't mind them, they're just looking for attention. Tonight's tale concerns maternal instincts and how that ancient, nurturing drive can, on occasion, open a door to a primordial evil that cannot be closed. Our story is entitled The Thing in the Woods, and such a set of circumstances are only possible on the Nightfall radio show. It was told to me by some old acquaintance familiar with the folklore of Georgia that some 200 years ago, deep in the backwoods, there lived a woman named Catherine. Now, history has lost her family name, though some said it was Ellison or Wellingham or something like that. She did have a husband named Thomas. He was known to be of a quiet and solitary nature, though no one thought this strange given that they were simple folk, wood folk, accustomed to the quiet stillness of the deep woods. Now, after being married for just a short while, Catherine felt as if she wanted a child, and she felt as if she wanted one more than she'd ever wanted anything in her life. Often Thomas would say, "I wish I had me a son. That boy would be the best hunter in Georgia, and hell, maybe these whole United States." Sometimes when Catherine was busy with housework, she would pause momentarily and gaze out the kitchen window, imagining a child, hers and Thomas, playing outside. Now it happened that Catherine began spending most of her days at the local church, praying for a child. "Please let me have a baby," she would beg. "I promise I would love that child so. I would do anything, give anything for a child." But her prayer was never realized. Now, most people in those parts knew that there was a stretch of woods that was haunted. Not haunted, mind you, by the ghosts of some violated Indians or brutalized slaves, but rather haunted by evil, inhuman spirits. These were diabolical entities that had never walked the earth in the form of flesh and bone. Although the area was generally avoided when people had to travel the area, they kept to the path, an old but well-worn trail, for they risked their lives and even more should they adventured beyond the safety of the path. Years before, when Catherine was a girl, her mother had often warned her about lingering in the woods, coming and going before and after school. "You be careful, Catherine. Keep your feet on the trail. Don't be wandering off chasing behind no butterfly or rabbit or nothing. You walk straight down that path and don't pay no mind to nothing else." Now, as spring brought with it a blossoming countryside, Catherine left home one sunny morning in April to go to church. Now, it so happened that the path that she was accustomed to taking was the same one that she had taken as a girl, going to and from school. The same road that ran through the stretch of demon-haunted wood. As she looked all about, she chanced to see the prettiest flower that she'd ever seen growing right alongside the path. It had long white petals and a beautiful ruby red center. Then she noticed something else. Beyond the lovely flower grew another, and another, and still another. "I'll take these to church and give them to the sweet Virgin Mary," she said. "Maybe then she'll hear my prayers." Excited, she began picking the lovely flowers. As she picked one flower after another, she moved, quite unaware, deeper and deeper into the woods. Her attention was aroused by the sound of a child crying, yet the sound seemed somehow distant and muffled. As she looked off into the distance, she caught a glimpse of a small object bundled in blue under a tree. As she moved closer, she recognized the object as a blanket that contained within it a baby boy. "How is it that your mother would be so careless as to leave you alone out here?" she asked the child, and her excitement grew. "Maybe the Virgin has answered my prayers by sending me to find the child. I'll take him home. He will make a fine son for Thomas." Carefully holding the baby, Catherine hurried out of the woods. As she feared the road, however, it occurred to her that she had not thanked the angels and the Blessed Virgin for giving her a son. She took her shawl from around her shoulders and spread it gently beneath the tree, knelt and began to pray. To her surprise, however, as her words of thanks left her lips, the child began to shriek and yell horribly. She kept on praying, and the child screamed louder with ripping wails of torment, as though the prayers themselves brought him great agony. And so Catherine decided that she would continue her prayers at home after the baby had been fed and put to bed. Reaching for the blanket to pick up the baby, she pulled back one corner of the blanket and was instantly doused in waves of complete and utter horror. What once had been a beautiful baby boy beneath the soft folds of the blanket was now a squirming, horrid, wriggling creature, more insect than human, with 3 gigantic black spheres which she knew to be the thing's eyes, twirling madly in their sockets. And as she watched it, it began growing. It pulsated and writhed in a sickening pool of bubbling white foam. Now it is said by a great many of the old folk that when somebody is confronted by pure evil, that the person either freezes up or is moved to action. Thankfully, Catherine was disposed to the latter. She quickly backed away from the entity, closed her eyes, and visualized herself bathed in the beautiful white light. This, she believed, was the power of Christ, the power that would keep all evil things at bay, the power which moved the stars, brought the rain, and brought the rising and setting of each day's sun. She believed all of these things, and thus we see the great irony inherent in many of man's beliefs. We see it and we understand, for as the creature took hold of Catherine's mind, paralyzing her, it engulfed her entire being, her mind, the gray matter of her brain, her flesh and blood, her bones, hair, arteries, and organs. It fed upon her totally, satisfying its hellish urges. And as that ethereal part of her, some say spirit, some call it soul, slipped away into a new reality, it too was devoured by the beast. She ceased to exist at all levels of creation or dimension, thus fulfilling the entity's one true wish, the advent of true death. And that concludes another excursion into the darkness on the Nightfall radio show. Thank you for listening to the program. The Nightfall radio show can be heard exclusively on the Blackwater Media YouTube channel. If you enjoy the show, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. If you would like to submit a short story, poem, or artwork, email your submission along with a brief bio to nightfallradioshow@mail.com. I'm your host, Dr. William Lester. I'll see you again at Nightfall.